Hello everyone, welcome back. In today's video, we got another news and rumor video to discuss, looking at some signings from our past couple of days, some injury updates, and some trade rumors involving the Leafs, Rangers, Islanders, and the Golden Knights. So go to all that coming up right now. Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here at the Internet Talker channel. Before we get into the video, don't forget to like this video and subscribe down below. Thank you for your support when you're with you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe button down below and don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below so we can all discuss today's video. Now, let's start today's video off as we usually do by talking about some signings from our past couple of days. There's been a lot of signings, so we'll get to a couple of them here in this video and we'll get to a couple of them in our next video. So at this point in time, we saw a couple of signings on October 7th and October 8th. So back on October 7th, we saw the Washington Capitals turn a PTO and Jacob Vrana to an NHL contract. You got 1 year deal with AV of league minimum. That's a pretty good deal for Vrana, who's been bouncing around the league over the past couple of years. Last year played in 21 games with the St. Louis Blues, putting up 2 goals and 6 points. Looks like a decent player, starts the season at the AHL level, so interesting out there, but Vrana at least has an NHL contract, so good news there for Vrana. Then we saw the PTO turn to a contract again as Austin Watson signs a 1 year league minimum deal with the Detroit Red Wings. He also started the season in the AHL last year, had 2 goals and 4 points in 33 games with the Lightning, so he's a really good fourth line forward if the Red Wings run into some injuries or feel like he needs to be called up. He could be an easy call-up option, so a pretty good pickup there for the Red Wings. Then we saw another PTO turn into a contract, and that was Steven Lorent. Lorent, who's a solid bomb 6'4", can play fourth line minutes, gets a 1 year league minimum deal as well. Coming off a season where he had a goal and 2 assists for 3 points in 38 games, a solid bomb 6 contributor there for the Florida Panthers during their cup run, so a pretty good pickup there for the Leafs. Then we saw the Leafs extend RFA defenseman Cade Weber. Weber, who was acquired last year, his signing rights were from the Carolina Hurricanes, I think it was, signs a 2 year deal with the AAV of $875,000. It's a pretty good pickup there for the Leafs. Weber coming off a season where he had 6 assists in 38 games over in the NCAA, so that's a pretty good pickup there for Weber, and I think he should be a really good pickup there for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Then we saw Max Pacioretty, who was also on a PTO, sign his deal. A lot of people were expecting this. He signs a 1 year deal at $873,000. That's pretty good for a veteran forward like Pacioretty. A lot of people thought he would have gone around the 1 million mark, so to see him get that is pretty good. He had 4 goals and 23 points in 47 games, has 1 point, a goal in his first 2 games with the Maple Leafs this year, so pretty good stuff there. Lawrence also has a couple of points in his first 2 games with the Leafs, so pretty good pickups there for the Leafs as they get some PTOs into NHL contracts. And then we saw the Edmonton Oilers sign Cameron Wright, who's a right winger, undrafted player, to a 1 year, $952,000 deal that will start this year. It's a pretty good pickup there for the Oilers. Wright last year split time between Bakersfield and the ECHL, putting up 4 goals and 5 points in 4 ECHL games. Also had 12 goals and 21 points in 48 AHL games, so look pretty good. It's a pretty good pickup there for the Oilers. Could eventually be a solid 4th, 3rd line forward there for Edmonton, so pretty good. And lastly, we saw the Minnesota Wild sign Jesper wallstedt to an extension. Wallstedt is entering the final year of his deal, signed a 2 year extension with AV of $2.2 million. That'll begin at the start of next year. That's a pretty good pickup there for the Wild. Wallstedt has been bouncing around between the AHL and NHL over the past couple of years. Last year, gone to 3 NHL games, picking up a 3.01 GAA and an .897 save percentage. Also gone to 45 AHL games, picking up a 2.7 GAA and a .910 save percentage. So look pretty good. He's going to be the Wild's goalie of the future eventually. Once Fleury and Gustafson's contract's out, he's going to be their 1A. So that's a pretty good pickup there for the Wild to get Wallstedt under contract. But those are signings from over the past couple of days on October 7th. Going over to a couple of injury updates as we have no trades from the past couple of days. We saw Drew Doughty be moved to long-term injury reserve, so he's probably not going to be back until late November, early December at the earliest. So that's bad news there for the Kings. Then we saw Brian Rust miss the Thursday game against the Detroit Red Wings. That's a pretty bad blow there for the Penguins as they lose Rust for the next little while. Hopefully should return in the not-too-distant future. Voronkov is going to miss the next couple of months due to an injury. Started the season injury reserve, will probably be there until just like Doughty, late November, early December at the earliest. Interesting note there. So I also saw a lower body injury that kept him out of Thursday's opening night game against the Dallas Stars, so that's pretty bad there for Nashville. Maverick Bourque has an injury. He should be able to be back in the not-too-distant future, but he started the season on season opening injury reserve, so bad blow there for the Stars. Peterka had a concussion. He's practicing. That's really good news there for the Sabres, but he did miss that last game against the LA Kings. So interesting to note there. Kevin Rooney has an undisclosed injury, was placed on injury reserve. He went down in that first game against the Vancouver Canucks, so bad blow there for the Flames to lose their 4th line center for a foreseeable future. We also also saw the Minnesota Wild have declined Chisholm be questionable for tomorrow's game against the Seattle Kraken, so that'll be interesting out there. And then we also saw Jeff Petrie be ruled out for tomorrow's game against the Nashville Predators with upper body injury, so that's a pretty bad blow there for Red Wings. He left the game against the Pittsburgh Penguins yesterday. And we also saw Boone Jenner have shoulder surgery, and he's going to be out for at least a handful of months. Probably not going back until February or March at the earliest, so that's a bad blow there for the Jackets to lose their captain. So some interesting injury updates from the past couple of days. Nothing too substantial besides some things that we already know, but interesting out there. There's some more injury updates from our past couple of days. We also want to talk about a couple of captains that were named. I don't think I ever touched on this in our last couple of videos, but Keller was named the first ever captain in Utah franchise history. The Arizona Coyotes, I don't think, had a captain since Elliotte and Larson was traded to the Vancouver Canucks, so it had been some time since the Arizona Coyotes and now the Utah franchise had a captain, so to see Keller be named captain I think is really good. I think it's the right choice. Keller's a really good leader in that locker room, and he's a good young player, so that's a pretty good pickup there for the Utah franchise. And then on opening night, we saw Jordan Eberle be named captain for the Seattle Kraken. That's pretty good for the Kraken. I don't think they had a captain since Mark Giordano was traded to Toronto a couple of years back, so it's good to see Eberle and Keller be named captains of Seattle and Utah. And for the first time, I think, in NHL history, the NHL has had all 32 teams have a captain. That's pretty good news there for the NHL. I think since Seattle came in, there hasn't been all 32 teams at the same time have a captain, but at this point in time, we do have all 32 teams having a captain, so pretty good news there for the NHL to have all 32 teams have a captain. And lastly, going over to a couple of trade rumors. We'll start here with something that Elliotte Friedman touched on the recent 32 Thoughts blog, and he was talking about teams who had not gotten extensions yet. We'll talk about this in our future video, but we saw Linus Ullmark and Carter Verhaeghe recently get big contract extensions, so he was talking about two players who he said is really intriguing that have not had contract extensions at this point in time, and it doesn't seem like they're having contract negotiations. And that's Theodore in Vegas, and that's also Brock Nelson in the Islanders organization. Now, for Theodore, there's been some talk about him being potentially moved after the acquisition of Hanifin. I've seen a lot of people say that Theodore's basically become expendable. They have a really good defensive core. You have Pietrangelo, Theodore, McNabb, Haig, Whitecloud. There's a couple of other really good players there on that defensive end, Hanifin. So they have a really deep and really lethal defensive core, so they may consider moving him. I highly doubt they would in season unless something goes completely wrong for Vegas. On top of that, though, I could see them maybe do a player-for-player swap. They are really weak on the forward group, even though they scored 8 goals in the opening night game against the Colorado Avalanche. So I could see them maybe subtract on the defensive end and move Theodore if it was able to get them some sort of a forward upgrade. I could see that be a possibility there for Vegas, but unless it's something like that, I highly doubt Theodore gets moved in season. I could even see him still sign him. Theodore's a really good puck-moving defenseman. As much as Hanifin has made him expendable, I think he's still a really good fit there in Vegas. So we'll have to wait and see, but Elliotte Friedman does think that Theodore is a name we'll have to watch out for. Another one's Brock Nelson. We've talked about his name over the offseason. He's entering a 5-year deal. He's an older type forward. You know, the Islanders are trying to get a little bit younger. Does it really make sense to sign Nelson 3 to 4 year deal with an AV of like $4 to $5 million? I personally don't think so. So I think there's a very lucky chance, especially if the Islanders are on the outside looking in this season, on the playoff mark around the trade deadline, that he gets moved. I think Nelson could command like a first-round pick and maybe a decent prospect. I don't think it's going to be anything too substantial, but I do think it could give the Islanders a little bit of boost when it comes to their draft capital and prospect pools. So we're going to have to wait and see on those two guys, but after a couple of players sign new extensions, it seems like guys we have to watch out for are Shea Theodore and Brock Nelson, who are still in the final year of their deals and don't have extensions yet, so we're going to have to keep our eyes out on those two players. Going over to New York Rangers, a couple of interesting updates when it comes to contract extensions for them. First, there was a report put out there by Kevin Weeks saying that Igor Shesterkin has rejected an 8-year extension with New York Rangers with an AV of $11 million. That's a massive contract extension. Will have made him the highest paid goaltender in the NHL. Will have given him the highest goalie contract in total in league history. So it would have been a really good ad there for the Rangers to get him signed, but apparently Shesterkin rejected it. So interesting note there. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. The season has started now for the Rangers, and there has been some talk about Shesterkin not carrying on negotiations after their season started. So we're going to have to wait and see on that. It sounds like Shesterkin really wants to be in the $12.5 million range and be the highest paid player on the Rangers organization. That doesn't seem at this point in time, according to Elliotte Friedman, that the Rangers really want to go that high. So it'll be interesting to note there. We'll have to wait and see what happens here, but apparently, according to some reports, Shesterkin rejected an 8-year deal with AV of $11 million. Personally, I would have taken it, given the fact it would have made him the highest paid goaltender, but he values himself the best ranger on that team and wants to be paid fittingly, so we'll have to wait and see on what happens there, and if they wind up working on a contract in season. When it comes to Alexis Lafreniere, there's been some recent reports, I think Frank Seravalli mentioned this, that even though the Shesterkin contract extension is the one big one that everyone keeps on talking about when it comes to the Rangers, he also says that the Lafreniere and the Rangers are also working on a contract extension. One of the numbers he's heard is an 8x8 contract, 8 years at $8 million. With the way Lafreniere's played over the past year and a half, to start to the season this year, I think he could definitely be worth an $8 million player. There were some points in his career early on when it looked like he would be a bust, but he's worked out fantastically. He's found a really good role on the line with Panarin and Trocheck, the team's second line last year, worked really well, so maybe an 8x8 deal is really good for Lafreniere. I would personally go a little bit lower, maybe 8 by like 7.5. I don't think he is an $8 million player yet. But if he has a big season, he was a first overall pick, I could see him be worth that, so it'll be interesting to see, but that could be a really good pickup there for the Rangers if they were to get him signed. So interesting note there for the Rangers, but apparently Shesterkin's rejected a long-term deal, and the Rangers continue to work on Alexis Lafreniere's contract extension, so interesting note there. And lastly, going over to Toronto Maple Leafs, so when it comes to them, there's been a lot of talk about them still moving on some players. They started the season with long-term injury reserve, so they don't have to make a move yet, but eventually, as long as all those players get healthy, they will have to make some sort of a cap cut. And the one name that keeps them coming up is Timothy Liljegren. He's a solid right shot defenseman. Personally, I think he can still be a solid third, second pair defenseman. I think he's currently their 6th, 7th defenseman. As soon as Johnny Hakanpää comes back, he'll be their 7th, 8th defenseman. It seems like he'll be sort of flexible once they get a little bit healthier, and there's a very likely chance he could be moved. He has 2 years left on his contract at $3 million. He's a right shot defenseman, which a lot of teams always like. I still personally think he could be a solid second pair defenseman in the right organization. Teams who need some defensive help, like maybe Edmonton, could that be their sort of upgrade? Could a team like Calgary look to try and improve their defense by acquiring him? Well, the Jackets could look for some blue line help. San Jose could definitely use some pieces. Maybe some other teams who are looking for cup runs this year could also use some more help in the blue line. So we'll have to wait and see on that, but it's probably not going to be anything in the near future. But eventually, when the Leafs get completely healthy, they will have to move someone, and Liljegren seems to be a guy who's probably going to get moved, so we'll have to wait and see on that. But that's all I'm going to talk about for today. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this down in the comment section below. What do you think about all of this? Do you think Liljegren gets moved, and if so, where do you think is the best destination for him? What about the Rangers? Do we come to terms with a contract extension on Lafreniere? And can they find a way to get Shesterkin under contract, or is he going ahead to free agency? Love to hear your thoughts on that. Plus, what do you think about the Islanders and the Knights? Can they sign Theodore and Nelson, or are they most likely going to get moved before a trade deadline? Definitely love to hear your thoughts on all of that. Plus, the signings, the injury updates, and the captain updates from the past couple days. Definitely love to get your thoughts on all of that down in the comment section below. That's all I want to talk about for today. We're going to this video. If you're to subscribe down below. Thank you for your support. We're now without you guys. So if you haven't already, don't forget the subscribe button down below. Don't forget to leave a comment down in the comment section below discussing all that was discussed in today's video. I also do a blog talking about news, rumors, analysis, stuff like that, so check that out. Leave a link in the description below, and come to see you guys all for next video. See you guys soon.